What's going on, people of YouTube? Today I'm bringing you the first of many video tutorials on how to improve your game in the Golf Club 2019. In today's topic, we're going to be talking about driving. Driving is the one thing you probably put the least amount of focus into. But my argument would be that it's probably one of the most important parts of the game, and it's going to be the biggest determining factor of whether you're going to be scoring well in the round or not. This video can be summed up in 3 words: hit the fairway. Thanks for watching. It's pretty much the same idea as IRL golf. Hitting the fairway is going to increase your scoring chances tremendously. But we all already know this if we're a fan of golf. The real question is, how do you improve your chances of hitting the fairway on almost every single hole? And that's what this video is going to cover. Ideally, what you want to shoot for is to hit at least 90% of fairways in every single round that you play. If you weren't already hitting 90% of your fairways, I can almost guarantee that hitting 90% is going to improve your scoring by at least 3 to 5 shots every single round. Not only does hitting the fairway increase your chances of scoring birdie or better on the hole, but it also decreases your chances of making mistakes on the hole. So now let us take a look at a few examples of different driving holes. So here we are at La Bombia Bluffs, which is actually the PGA course this week on the TGC Tours. And I thought it was a perfect example of all the different types of drives that you need to pay attention to and the various things that you need to pay attention to off the tee. So I think already most of us know this, but the very first thing we want to do is zoom in and see what our landing area looks like. Now, I think a lot of us, our first reaction when we take a look at this hole is that, wow, it's wide open, we might as well step back and crank it, right? Wrong. The second thing you always want to do off of every tee is hit the overhead mat button. For me, it's B. And you take a look here and you can see, oh wow, it's 30 feet down in elevation. Now in this game, 1 foot in elevation equals 1 foot of distance. So, being 30 feet down, we're going to be gaining 30 feet of distance, which is 10 yards. So my landing area for my driver is 285 on Masters clubs, so it'll be 295. Now we want to take a look again and see, is there anything 10 yards further from this landing spot that I have to worry about? And as you can see, if we were aimed here, that bunker might be in play. We might get a roll out and go directly into that bunker. So if you don't pay too much attention to it, you can definitely end up in a bad spot. However, we have 11 miles an hour in our face, so we don't really have to worry about that. Now, the next big thing that a lot of people don't usually pay too much attention to is what's the best approach to this green? Now, I know a lot of people like to play speed golf and they don't really want to take the time on every single hole to move their camera all the way up to the green and see what they have before they've even hit their drive, which is understandable. But even from back here, you can kind of understand that the best approach to this green is definitely not from the right side. You can already see some red with the grid, so you know there's a false front. And obviously you don't want to be attacking this with the pin on the right side from the right side. And now the wind's actually changing to be pushing that ball off the tee from left to right even more. It's not really in our face anymore. So that actually makes it even more dangerous for when we hit this drive. If we were to play it here, this wind could bring it back and put it into the bunker. So now we've gone through our checklist. We've looked at our landing area, we've looked at the elevation, we've looked at the wind, and we looked at the approach that we want to take at this green. Now we want to do that on almost every single hole, if you can. I know a lot of people like to play speedy, but if you can go through those 4 checklists every time, you're going to have the maximum chance to hit the fairway. So, for me, I play a push shot, which means that when I swing, my swing line is always a little bit off to the right. Now, a lot of people on PS4, for example, like to just play straight drives. So for me, I'll just tell you what I do because of my push, is I always play 1 circle more to the left. So if I was to aim, let's say there was no wind, and I didn't want to hit this bunker, for example, right? If there was no wind at all, I would just play 1 circle over. Like this. So now my ball normally ends on the right side of that circle. Right where the right side of the circle ends is where my ball is going to land, if there was no wind. But with the wind, we want to put in a little bit extra adjustment. And with this being about 12 miles an hour, not fully left to right, but kind of left to right, so we're thinking probably about 7 miles an hour left to right because of the in-between in my face and to the right, I want to play another half circle out to the left. So now that we're ready here, we might as well swing. As you can see, the wind's really taking it, which is what we were expecting. It's also slowing it down quite a bit. And we end up about 301 with a perfect line to the pin straight uphill. So since we spent the time to look at this pin beforehand, you can see we've landed in a spot where we have the best possible chance to attack this pin and possibly score on this hole. So here we are at the 8th hole, and this is another perfect example of to try and look for places where you can be extra aggressive to get a little bit closer to the pin and have that better chance of scoring. So if we first look at this hole, what it's recommending is the 5 hybrid off the tee, which is pretty far back for a pretty short hole. It's only 392 par 4, so you could really get close if you were able to hit driver here. And obviously when you zoom in with your driver, you can see that it's a very tight landing area. So it's like, well, it's probably not worth it, right? Well, if we zoom in, you can actually see that everything kind of funnels in this fairway. So if you land off to the left here, on this side of the fairway, it should funnel right down through this fairway. And you'll be fine, and you'll have a very close approach shot to be able to score once again. And still, an excellent place to attack this pin from the left side. Now, if you were back here all the way to the right, that'd be a very, very tough shot because the pin's already on the right and you'd be on the right. And looking at this pin here, you can see that there's a lot of undulation right in front of the pin, which is going to make it very difficult to stick next to the pin. So, with this wind, I'll adjust for my push. So normally I'd probably be about here because I'd want to land around in this area. But with the wind, I'm going to just play it like one circle over. And we'll see what happens. And that, I think, is going to be perfect. So the big lesson there is always take a look and see if you can get any extra advantage. So obviously just looking at the undulation of the fairway there, I was able to deduce that hitting it to the left side, I'd be able to funnel right down this fairway, and it's actually a pretty high percentage shot that I'm going to hit the fairway and be closer and be able to hit this pitch shot. Okay, so here we are at the 14th hole, which is a par 5, and this is one of the last tips that I want to show you about driving the golf ball. So when we zoom in here, we see that it's a pretty straightforward shot. We obviously don't want to be playing in this direction with this wind because you're probably going to end up in this tall shit over here. I think that might even be out of bounds, which it is. So we definitely want to avoid that. So with my push, we already want to start over about here, and everything seems to be angling a little bit left to right, so I would even adjust that further. And then with the wind as well going from left to right, we want to play it like even more. So now that we're here, the last tip that I want to show you is that when you have the wind at your back, you usually want to play the driver lofted. The longer the ball stays in the air with the driver when you have the wind at your back, the further it's going to go distance-wise. And you want to get as much advantage as possible when you have the wind at your back, especially on a par 5, because it's going to make the next shot a lot closer. So I don't know why the wind keeps changing, but it still is mostly at our back here, so I need to adjust it a little bit again. However, now that I have the driver fully lofted, we're going to step back and crank it. So for the very next hole, which is another par 5, we are also downwind once again. So the first thing we want to do, put our loft all the way up because we want to take advantage of that distance, especially on a par 5. But then one other trick I want to show you, which is a little more advanced, and I wouldn't recommend this for people that haven't played the game too much yet, but people that are very used to the game and have an understanding, you're going to want to try and hit this ball fast to get that extra bit of distance. Kind of the same thing like in real life, when you hit a fast shot, you're tending to pull the ball. So in the game it's the same thing, but you're also going to be getting a little bit more distance. So to take advantage of being also downhill, downwind, we've got our club lofted all the way up to take advantage of the wind. And now we're going to see if we can hit this ball fast. And I will adjust for my push as well as hitting it fast, and the wind being a little bit left to right. And as you can see there, perfect swing. Taking full advantage of the downhill, downwind, and a fast tee shot. And here's just a quick little bonus snippet. After going through both those drives with you guys, I made eagle on both those par 5s. So to quickly recap what we covered in this video, I came up with an acronym for the core concepts that you can easily remember. As long as you remember whale, wind, approach, landing area, and elevation, you should be able to greatly increase your chances of hitting the fairway, and you'll be well on your way to improving your scores. Well guys, that's the end of the video. I hope you really enjoyed it. There's going to be a lot more to come. If you did enjoy it, maybe leave it a like, maybe share it around with your friends or anybody else that may be struggling with the game or want to improve. And make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you're alerted when I come out with the next video in this series. And make sure to follow me on Twitch if you haven't already. The link is in the description and on screen now, twitch.tv/Zenz. You should see a little heart icon or the follow button above my channel. Make sure to click on that. And my Twitter is also in the description if you want to follow me on there to see updates of when I go live or anything else. Alright guys, hope you enjoyed. Have a great rest of your day. I love you. I'm out. Peace.